Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
We're about to go to break. Representative Cynthia Davis, she has introduced and signed on the legislation. We had the Representative guest on from Missouri as well yesterday. Part of now upwards of 20 states filing or who have passed resolutions reaffirming the 10th Amendment and saying the feds do not control them. Good to have you on, Representative Davis.
It's good to be here.
We're about to break, but when we come back, tell us about the particular legislation.
All right.
Specifically, how many pieces are introduced in Missouri? Because I'm seeing multiple pieces declaring 10th Amendment.
Well, I am not aware of how many other pieces are being introduced, but I'll tell you this much. If most of us would introduce something, that'd be a guarantee it will pass.
Absolutely. We'll stay there. We'll come back and get into details with you after this quick break as we continue to follow. It was 8 states last week. It was 10 2 days ago. And then I saw reports of scores of other states signing on. So I've got to get an actual number. Jack McClam said he had an article saying it was more than 20. So we're trying to track this. Stay with us. Now, we had Representative Guest from Missouri on yesterday who introduced HCR 13, claims sovereignty for the United States under the 10th Amendment. We have HCR 6 out of New Hampshire saying no to the FEMA camps and martial law. Got those folks coming on tomorrow. It is now 21 states claiming sovereignty. We just got a full list of those. Will you IM that to Kurt Nimmo and to Watson, both the webmasters for Prison Planet and Infowars.com, so we can get this up? This is very important. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Joey V. We've got her this segment and into the next. Representative Cynthia Davis, she's introduced a separate bill, and that's give us that bill number and tell us how yours deals with declaring sovereignty.
Well, mine is called a House resolution, and the big difference between House resolution and House concurrent resolution is the concurrent resolution means you have to have the Senate agree to it, and like most states and even, the Senate is a separate and distinct body, and I don't have any faith that they're going to take care of business.
So your H.R. 212, the feds are trying to force the states to not be able to choose whether to have abortion be legal or illegal. You're saying leave that to the states.
Yeah, here's the point. Look at the way the President of the United States was elected. Every state has its own choice of who they want. Now, same with pro-life issues. We have pro-life laws that are tailored to our constituency. So maybe the people in Missouri respect life more than the people in Massachusetts. So that allows each state to pick what is fitting of their residents. If I pass a law on pro-life issues and my constituents think that's out of their taste, then they can elect different lawmakers who will pass a law in their taste. So really what they're doing is slapping the face of all the states and saying, no, all the states have to have the same local flavor as what the people in Washington, D.C. have.
And specifically, they're trying to federally say abortion will continue in all 50 states, and you're saying, hey, that is for Missouri to decide with our state.
Yeah, it's clearly up to us. It's not just abortion. It's having who pays for the abortion. It's what kind of abortions we do. It has to do with if, we in Missouri think that parents are smarter than maybe some people have in other states. I can't help that, but the Missouri parents should have a right to give approval to an abortion for a minor in Missouri. Other states don't have that law, but what they're doing is they're stripping us of our own rightful authority to define our standards in Missouri.
Well, you're right. What they're doing federally is lining up with the UN treaties, like the UN Treaty on the Rights of the Child, that says by law it's a felony if parents try to get involved stopping their 12-year-old daughter from having an abortion. So what's happening is the feds aren't just federalizing, they're internationalizing.
Now, where mine fits in with that Freedom of Choice Act is sometimes you need a spark to ignite the flame, to get people really angry. And that's what the federal government is doing with this threat to take away our state laws as they pertain to abortion. But the root of all these issues is the exact same problem, and that is the states are being disrespected by the federal government. And this grand overreaching is pervasive, and it's getting worse. And this abortion issue was the perfect catalyst for helping people see how bad the problem has gotten and how much worse it's going to get if we don't do something to stand up to a bully.
Well, I was about to say that this is a precedent setting, what they're trying to do, passing a federal law saying the states have no jurisdiction over themselves when it comes to reproductive activities. I mean, this is amazing that they're trying to come in and federally say that states can't restrict or legalize abortion.
Yeah, and in Missouri, we don't do certain things because that's not how people want it in Missouri. And basically, in one nutshell, the federal government is trying to treat the states like we are nothing but an administrative branch of what they are doing. And they've done it to us on health care. They've done it to us on education. This is not the first time. But this is the time that penetrated down to the grassroots level where people could actually see a direct effect. Nobody was sensitized to how egregious this was because the overstepping usually was accompanied by money. And it's easy for people when they're getting federal money to say, oh, well, then I guess their encroachment isn't that bad. But there's an old expression, if you want to get out of the rat race, you have to let go of the cheese.
Well, I mean, plus people think it's free money. They take our state money and send on average, 30-something% back to us. So it's disgusting. But then on average, states end up actually putting about 70+% into services. So we need to, well, do what the founder said. State Representative Cynthia Davis from Missouri, we'd like to talk more about your particular legislation in Missouri that reaffirms the 10th Amendment. After the state representative leaves us, I'm going to get into the incredible psyop as they keep trying to compare Obama to mythical people like George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I mean, this is a psyop. We're going to break it down. Also, I'll go over the 21 states claiming sovereignty. They're declaring it. We're going to go over this a little bit later. But right now, let's go back to our guest, Representative Cynthia Davis of Missouri. This is H.R. 212, House Resolution. And again, there's H.C.R. 13, a separate one that's broader, declaring 10th Amendment rights across the board. But as she said, this does it as well. Please continue with other points that you'd like to make.
Oh, well, you know what? This whole problem started when our public schools quit teaching the Constitution. But a lot of people, I'm sure on your show you're familiar with the 10th Amendment, which is beautifully written and was part of the original amendments. But a lot of people don't go into where the Constitution actually came from, the Declaration of Independence. And in the Declaration, it's so beautifully written and explains reasons why the states should have rights. It was assumed from the very beginning that we were a collection of states. The federal government had the least amount of power, and the states had much more power. I'm sure I'm telling you stuff you already know, but even in the Declaration, it says these united colonies are of right ought to be free and independent states. And it goes on to say...
well, even as British colonies, they still separately can make their own laws and have their own systems, and were very diverse. Some were more Catholic, some were more Protestant, some were freewheeling like New York, basically a pirate base. Let me just read the 10th Amendment for folks. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited to it by the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Go ahead.
And there's no constitutional authority for national government to do anything with education or health care. And yet, if you listen to what all the folks in Washington, D.C. have to tell you about, 90% of it boils down to education and health care. So if we could strip that out of their jurisdiction, they wouldn't probably have anything to do.
Well, I mean, do you notice how they're positioning Obama, saying he is like Lincoln? He will bring federal control. He will unify us. But, I mean, we're not freeing slaves here. There's not a war going on. But, I mean, he keeps saying he's basically taking the states over. This is creepy.
And frankly, I'm one of those who would have liked us to free the slaves without having to shoot all those people.
It actually wasn't about that on record, Lincoln. I can pull up Lincoln quotes. Like, I think I'll do that today. He actually did it over who would control Western expansion, but
right. And frankly, England was able to free their slaves without having to go to war. So, I mean, bottom line is you got to look at where we came from. And when you've got a generation of people growing up who know nothing about their history, all they learn is what they've observed, and that is federal government doing more and more and more.